Ah yes, free-to-play games. Entertainment which you don't have to pay for to have a great experience, well, with some exceptions like Destiny 2. Sounds like a pretty sweet deal, right? Especially nowadays when the monetization model for such games also moves in the direction of cosmetics rather than pay to win, especially for the console and PC market. Mobile still sucks in that regard. But apparently we still have people on their Reddit energy calling everything pay to win unconditionally. And this video we will be taking a look at today is exactly that. The title of this video is How Free Games Trick You into Spending Money and comes from Going Indie. Now this is a video I planned to respond to a while ago but ended up completely forgetting about its existence. Until I was reminded of it by a guy in my Discord, unfortunately. Now you might know Going Indie for a number of different reasons, and I just randomly decided to check out his about page to see how he describes himself and how that checks out considering his content. So where better to get the information than from the horse's mouth. After starting an indie game studio of my own, I know that running one can be scary and intimidating. Going Indie was created to help aspiring game makers level up. Damn bro, crazy story. If only your content didn't completely contradict it by acting like an angry elitist and constantly fear-mongering. Oh wait, it does. Who would have guessed? But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe these videos aren't so bad in reality. So let us jump right in and see if that is truly the case.
Why are most free-to-play games becoming pay-to-win?
And already there's a massive problem here. He flashes some games on screen before stating how most free-to-play games have become pay-to-win, yet I recognized 4 of these games, and that being Candy Crush, CSGO, Valorant and Fortnite. Apart from Candy Crush, the other 3 are nowhere near pay-to-win, as the only monetization method they feature being cosmetics, which, in the vast majority of cases, just make you easier to see and therefore easier to shoot. So in short, this guy managed to completely lie in the first 3 seconds. Very good start, I must say.
Free-to-play games.
Free-to-play titles.
Free-to-play.
Pay to win.
Paying to win in a video game.
It's a pay-to-win model.
Games didn't used to be this way. Back in the good old days, there were no loot boxes, battle passes, or microtransactions.
Whoa, he said microtransaction bad? Someone give this man his Reddit karma. Yeah, now I'm really starting to think this guy never got the concept of a free-to-play game. If the game is free to play, they need to make their money in alternative ways, because guess what? And I would expect you to know this considering you supposedly run an indie studio. They need to make money. Oh yeah, fun fact about it. I was looking for it for quite some time now, but I couldn't find any proof of that studio existing, since it's not linked anywhere. Absolutely no one seems to know anything about it, and the only mention of this guy's supposed first name in this context is from a game dev from New Zealand, and a guy on LinkedIn that looks absolutely nothing like him. So 2 possible outcomes are that his studio either failed, or he's lying yet again.
Something changed though, and game companies switched from play to win to pay to win.
The socially accepted way of behaving in your game should be paying.
But what's interesting is that in the beginning, almost every video game was pay to win.
And this is no longer the case, with the market clearly moving away from such monetization methods, so where's the problem?
What is the problem?
Back in the 70s and early 80s, you were most likely to find gamers at an arcade, surrounded by the aroma of heated circuitry and musty carpet. And for those that can't imagine the smell or weren't around for the arcade days, games were different back then. You had to pay to play, but you also had to keep paying if you weren't good. You see, back then, most arcade games used the life system, like Space Invaders, Pac-Man, or Time Crisis. And these games had only one goal: keep customers paying. They wanted people to fail, because this was how arcades made back their money on cabinets that could cost up to 10 grand. This is also why you'd see 30 people craning their neck to watch one guy for hours. Dumping quarter after quarter every few minutes as a teenager was pricey. But with the rise of home gaming in the 80s and 90s, arcades started dying off. Why spend all your lunch money trying to be Ninja Turtles when you could buy the game once and play it as much as you want? So with the demise of arcades, the pay-to-win model went into hiding.
Yeah, I sped that history lesson up because it's completely irrelevant and only here to pad out the video. Oh yeah, and speaking of dragging shit out, this next part is even worse.
At least for a little while. What's crazy though is that the pay-to-win model would take almost 20 years to reappear, needing free-to-play games, piracy, and League of Legends for it to come back bigger and badder than ever. What's even more crazy is that it all started with Doom. What? There had never been something quite like Doom. It was massive, and it changed video games forever. Doom had top-of-the-line 3D graphics, there was a PC multiplayer, it supported mods, but most importantly, the game was free to play. You have to understand, this was insane to do back then. You didn't have free-to-play games. Remember, everything was physical. You purchased games on floppy disks or cartridges. Digital games weren't a thing, so free-to-play games weren't free to distribute, meaning id Software had to buy millions of floppy disks, then print Doom on millions of disks, then ship these disks around the world, spending hundreds of thousands before ever making a dime. So why would they do this? Well, back then, developers were not the ones who made the most money off their games. Most of the money went to the publishers, and developers often got single-digit percentages of royalties. Id didn't want to go this route, so they decided to try the free-play model, known as shareware at the time.
Using it before he pays for it. That's the wonderful thing about shareware. He actually has it in his hands, and he sees if it's fit for his purpose, and if it isn't, he doesn't have to use it, doesn't have to pay for it.
The goal was to get Doom in the hands of as many players as possible, and hope they could upsell. A high-risk, high-reward strategy. For those confused on how shareware works, think of it like a phone game. Players only get access to the first few levels, with the rest of the game being restricted behind paywall. The goal is to get people hooked, and if they want to play the rest of the game, they need to call and pay for a code that unlocks the rest.
which is a 1 minute and 30-second way of saying you got episode 1 of Doom for free as shareware, and then you had to buy the rest of the game, that being episodes 2 and 3, for $40. And let's address the elephant in the room right now. This fucking model isn't pay to win, retard. It's a pay to play model with a free demo. Once you pay for the game, there are no follow-up payments. Holy fucking shit. This is seriously like saying that making a sequel for a game is pay to win. But then again, we're talking about a guy who thinks having a demo for a game makes it pay to win, so who knows. By the way, another reminder that this guy claims to have run a video game studio. That story is getting less and less likely by the second, and we're only 3 minutes in this video.
A little more convoluted than just adding your credit card, but the beauty of this model was that id would get 100% of the revenue instead of splitting it with the publisher. It worked. Doom became a phenomenon. Companies were banning Doom from their networks because LAN games were clogging them up and slowing things down. I mean, the game had been installed on more computers worldwide than Microsoft's then new operating system, Windows 95.
Yeah, common knowledge, get to the point.
So because of the free-to-play model, id was able to upsell millions of copies, make tens of millions of dollars, and completely change the world of video games. However, id isn't among the modern gaming industry's juggernauts.
You're right, because they got acquired by Bethesda. And they are still making incredibly popular games that have been widely praised by the overwhelming majority. Case in point, Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal.
Why isn't the company still revolutionary, and why aren't people complaining about them like they do EA, Activision, and Ubisoft?
Because they are still revolutionary. You need to be living under a fucking rock to never have heard about the likes of Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. So this comes down to him either being blatantly misinformed or purposefully disingenuous. Pick your poison, I guess. Though if this video will show us, and has shown us anything, it's that this guy has absolutely no problem with lying to prove his point.
There are a few reasons, such as the founding team breaking up or creating some disappointing sequels. However, the main reason is that id got comfortable. They were years ahead of their time with the free-to-play model, but they ignored the main reason for Doom's global success and released their following game, Doom 2, for $40 a piece.
Is this motherfucker seriously going to claim that Doom 2, one of the games that stood the test of time and still has a big player base to this day, is a failure? Fuck me. Also, the reason Doom 1 was so successful wasn't fully because of the shareware model, or as your dumbass calls it, the free-to-play model, because guess what? If the game sucked, it wouldn't be played even if it is free-to-play. The game was a massive technological advancement for the time and a platform that has never been seen for a suitable gaming platform. So chalking up Doom's success to the shareware model alone is incredibly disingenuous. By the way, do we feel like getting to the point sometime this decade?
They completely forgot the power of the free-to-play model, and as a result, they stopped making free-to-play games. Slowly, the company fell apart.
Yeah, that's completely false as mentioned earlier. Although many of the founding members left, the company is still very much alive, kicking and blowing people's socks off. Once again, he's either misinformed or lying, and once again, get to the fucking point. Spoiler alert, he won't, and instead he's going to go on a rant about piracy, as if that's relevant whatsoever.
So we can see that the rampant piracy in Asia and the rise of the internet, up-and-coming Asian publishers really needed to innovate to succeed. And the first company to do it was Nexon. Unsurprisingly, Nexon was a Korean company, one of the countries most affected by piracy, and they released the first digital free-to-play game called Quiz Quiz in 1999. This MMO set off a chain reaction, setting in motion a wave of Asian free-to-play games. Nexon had finally figured out how to monetize video games in Asia, and they didn't stop there. Nexon went on to create MapleStory, the first pay-to-win game in 2003, which was also the first game to feature loot boxes inspired by the real-life gachapon toy dispensers. But while many Asian studios were innovating, the West continued as if nothing had changed.
You know, that's great and all, but we're here to learn how we're supposedly tricked to spend money. And quite frankly, I can't be bothered to fact check any more information, because given your track record in lying and being blatantly misinformed, I already know I would have to. So I'm gonna super speed past this irrelevant history lesson and get to the relevant part, thank me later.
This is what happens when you have companies that can manipulate you so well you don't even notice when it's happening.
Okay, so after 10 minutes straight of complete nonsense and false information, are you finally going to tell us how these games are somehow evil masterminds that trick us into spending money? And yes, I am dead serious when I say we're exactly 10 minutes and 0 seconds into this video. Really goes to show how much of a disingenuous scumbag this guy really is, when the time required for spamming mid-roll ads is entirely fluff and misinformation. Yeah.
And the worst part, they're teaching others their tricks.
Some of you will probably be slightly shocked by all the tricks I have listed here, but I'll leave the morality of it out of the talk.
You know it's gonna be a gnarly presentation when the guy starts with, let's not think about the morality of this. And he doesn't. This presentation on how to monetize free-to-play games really outlines everything. In-depth industry secrets on how to use psychology to trick people to spend money.
Wow, you mean to tell me that in order to get someone to buy your product, you need to use psychology? Damn, I would never have guessed. But let's see if this guy can keep that same energy for the food he buys, or literally anything. Motherfucker, why do you think the fruit section is always the first one you see in grocery stores? It's because it's colorful and makes you feel good. Why do you think candy bars at the counter are placed lower down? It's simply so they're at the eye level of their target audience, that being children. And I could go on for 10 fucking years. So don't even pretend to be shocked by this. Especially as someone who, once again, claims to have run a video game studio and as such had to know how to make money. Unless of course that was all a fucking lie. Also, pay to win has been dying out for the last 5 years or so. So what this comes down to is him bringing up now irrelevant shit for the sole purpose of fearmongering.
The whole time watching this, all I could think of was the old adage of the frog in the pot. If you put a frog in the pot of boiling water, it'll jump out. But put the frog in cool water and gradually heat it up, the frog will boil to death. Or as the presenter puts it, you hook the gamer first with something irresistible, then you create a habit with an easy and rewarding gameplay loop, then pounce when the game becomes a hobby, because players will do anything to win or progress.
Self-control is also a thing. If someone doesn't see the value in the purchase, they can always choose not to make said purchase. They are in no way forced to buy something they don't want. Video games as a whole are luxury products. If someone makes a purchase they don't find value in and they regret it, that is entirely their own fault for not using their brain. Do you honestly think that people who watch your content are so fucking stupid that they cannot choose what is and isn't a worthwhile purchase to them without you? And in the same sense, if someone does find value in the purchase and decides to spend their money the way they want, where is the problem?
What is the problem?
It's crazy to outright hear it, but it gets even better.
Top grossing games have in-game economies worth tens of thousands.
Meaning the more players can spend on a game, the more you'll make.
Make stuff immediately useful, immediate gratification.
So you don't want them thinking about the purchase.
People are much more attached to the stuff they have than an equal amount of things that they can gain.
We are more likely to pay if you threaten to take something away.
You do realize it's also possible to shut off the game, right? And to play something else. If you don't find value in the game, you are in no way obligated to play it. Sure, there are people who are going to shut off their brain and throw money at the game regardless, but that is not the majority. This is literally like gasping at the popcorn manufacturer being all like, "Guys, do you see all these pretty colors on the bag? Can you believe they're getting you conditioned to the brand so you would spend hundreds of dollars on it over your lifetime? And giving you instant gratification with the ready-to-eat popcorn? How dare they?" Like seriously. You can apply this to literally every product in existence, and as such, once again, this is not something exclusive to just video games.
So we are herd animals, we tend to do what all the others do. Absolutely do not want to tell them that the majority of people in your game never spend money. That's poison. Never tell them that.
And my favorite of all,
make sure that your games aren't too skill-based.
the craziest part about all of this is that what he's talking about isn't even the worst of it. It's terrible that game studios have taken these strategies and turned most free-to-play games into pay-to-win.
Yes, marketing is a practice that takes morality out of the equation. As someone who claims to be an entrepreneur, you shouldn't at all be shocked by this, but here we are with you continuing to prove how that was a lie. Oh, and guess what? People generally seem to agree that pay-to-win is a bad practice, and as such, it is generally looked down upon, hence why it is favorable to have payable cosmetics instead. And this has been the case for fucking years now, so where is the problem?
What is the problem?
But somehow, pay-to-win has also infected full-priced games too. You're not only having to pay to play, but they want you to keep paying.
And the game he's using to show this is Battlefront 2, a game which completely removed all of its pay-to-win aspects because of the backlash. All of this shit is in past tense. Yes, there was a point in time where companies were pushing pay-to-win into everything, but we're well past that point, and as such, this is a classic example of beating a dead horse and fearmongering for fearmongering's sake.
Sound familiar? We seem to have come full circle. We are somehow back in the arcade days where I'm more likely to just watch someone else play because it's too expensive for me to keep up.
Really, video games today are too expensive for you. A free-to-play game with the only thing you need to pay for being cosmetics is too expensive for you. Your video game studio must be going really well then.
And I know that you know who really took this pay-to-win model to a new level. The two-time worst company, EA. EA saw all these free-to-play games using pay-to-win strategies and thought, we could do better. At first glance, it didn't seem like a big deal. Like the cosmetics in MapleStory, who cares if someone wants to pay for a purely visual change? But over the years, loot boxes went from simple game additions to full-on progression systems.
And cherry picking. Now he's going to hyper-focus on a few games that either had or still have pay-to-win implemented, instead of focusing on the majority of popular free-to-play games, all of which have purely cosmetic purchases. So how is that tricking people into spending money again? Let me guess, he won't answer that now, will he?
It was finally perfect in the eyes of EA. They were following the advice of a very moral presenter when he says,
The reason I highlighted convenience up there or progress is that most of your sales will be here. Customization, hats and stuff, they're nice, but you'll have a single-digit percentage of your income coming from that.
you make the real money monetizing progression systems, not cosmetics. So EA shipped this new model with the brand new game, Star Wars Battlefront 2.
And then removed it because of the backlash. What's your point? Who would have guessed there are more factors in play than just add pay to win, question mark, profit. So once again, how is that tricking us into spending money when the system you're using as an example received so much backlash it literally no longer exists in this case?
12 years after I purchased the first Battlefront game at a swap meet, I found myself reading article after article about Battlefront 2. Everyone's conclusion? The game was pay to win. People lost their minds.
Controversies just won't stop coming.
Oh great, now he's using YongYea as a source. As if we needed any more proof of this guy's non-existent credibility. And I love how he just completely disproved his entire narrative about how people have been conditioned to not care about pay to win with a carefully crafted system or whatever. Yet he's just that fucking stupid to not realize it. Motherfucker, if they have been tricked into getting into the system, like you claim, why would they completely shit on it the very instant they were presented by it, to the point the system has been replaced with a much better one for over 5 years? Oh wait, because not everyone is as stupid as you.
I would recommend not buying this game just because of the anti-consumer practices.
EA tried to save face, but the backlash was immense.
Which just goes to disprove your point even further.
So EA backed down. Loot boxes were grabbing the attention of governments. Was pay to win leaving AAA games? Were we finally free?
Nope.
Although we won against EA and loot boxes are disappearing, all sorts of games continue to hide pay-to-win mechanics in their games. So pay-to-win isn't going anywhere, unless governments step in or studios find a more lucrative solution.
How can you hide pay-to-win in games without making games pay-to-win? That is a literal oxymoron. I mean, it would help if you would list a source, unless of course...
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Which brings me to my final piece. We need an ethical and lucrative solution to get rid of pay to win.
Oh, you mean like cosmetics? Yeah, you're 5 years late to the party, my man.
Just like before with the introduction of the free-to-play model, game studios are stuck, and they do not know how to overcome it. With inflation rising and costs soaring, studios need to make more money on their games now more than ever before. But they know if they raise the price of their games, they'll cut off large chunks of their player base, which is why it took so long to see games rise above $60.
If you genuinely believe this shit is due to inflation, you're completely retarded. No, what happened was Sony was charging $10 for a next-gen upgrade for their PlayStation 4 games going to PlayStation 5. That being $60 going to $70. And that's what popularized the whole price increase. Video games are more profitable than they ever were, and as such, this decision is purely due to greed. If it truly was about inflation, wouldn't that mean that all video games would get more expensive? Instead of just those you'd expect to be $60 going to $70. As someone who claims to work in the industry, I would expect you to know this, but to no one's surprise you don't.
But these game companies should also know, if they keep going down this road of pay to win, they'll destroy their brand and future sales. Short-term thinking is hindering their potential.
I feel like a broken fucking record at this point. That's why they are moving away from that model, you retard. There's a reason why your most recent example is all the way from 2017.
The hybrid model trend and the excess of manipulative monetization strategies can't last forever. Gamers are starting to wise up. So these companies are in a pickle. They need to think long term, but don't know how.
Considering they are at the top of the food chain, I'd say they know very well how.
This is where true innovators shine. When you're in that pickle, you are forced to find creative solutions to unique problems. Those that don't will die, or be bought by those that do. This is why League of Legends was so successful, and why I'm so bullish on indie studios. When you're small, you have to innovate to succeed.
Or be Garden of Banban, but we won't get into that. Also, how is this relevant to the video? Oh wait, it's not. He just needs to stroke the dick of indie games so that he can paint this video as anything else other than 15 minutes of misinformation while beating a dead horse.
And whoever creates a great game that doesn't limit a game's value like pay to win, but adds value in a unique way, will become like Doom in the 90s or League of Legends in the 2000s. A beloved game that changes the entire industry.
But wait, I thought you said Doom 1 was pay to win. What happened to that? So in short, you just unknowingly admitted to lying. Very nice.
As part of our tradition, we like to feature indie games at the end of our videos. And this time, our community chose the timeless free-to-play gem, Cave Story.
Well, since that's the end of that whole thing, we can stop watching here. So I guess the moral of the story here is, free-to-play games bad because of an outdated reason. Yeah, if this doesn't prove that this guy is just looking to rile people up over nothing, I don't know what does. And it also just goes to show how disingenuous he is in his about section, putting the stamp of, oh, I run an indie company, as some pathetic proof of credibility, even though it literally takes a couple of seconds to see past that lie. Especially considering he never showed any proof of it existing in the first place, on top of him being a pathological liar and being proven to not know anything about the industry time and time again. Be sure to like and subscribe to boost me in the algorithm. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.